Good morning, everybody. How y'all doing on this? What day is it? Sunday. What is up? What is up? Let's check the chat, see what everybody's talking. What up? Trail Dust in third. Mr. Pekka, how you doing? Shane Lalonde, Ben Toombs, and Board to Gov. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's everybody. Oh, Mr. Donut, how you doing? It is Adam's work week, so he is not here today. Yeah, show canceled. All right, catch you later. Bye. We're too tired for this. uh, fun week, and it is now June, which means we are away from Egypt and into something else. And it's a secret, and nobody will know what it is. Oh, dang it! It's the title, isn't it? Anyway, and so let's move on to the "How was your week? How was your week? Show me what you got" segment.
Uh, well, good morning, everybody, to start with. And yeah, my week was
Jam-packed.
pretty freaking amazing. I don't know about jam-packed. I always joke around about how awesome it would be to work a 40-hour week, but only work 2 days and then have 5 days off. Well, that's what I did this week. 40 hours. I worked Sunday and Wednesday, and that's it. The rest of the week, man, I got a lot of stuff done. I'm telling you, Yamas. I got out there and I started working on my gallery project, and I got it completely finished as far as I can go until final assembly. I can't assemble it because it won't fit in a suitcase or a shipping package. So yeah, it's in pieces, breaks down into pieces small enough to fit in my suitcase. And so it's done until I get it to your house for final assembly in September. And what else did I do? Oh, I did fit up on that what's it called? That sheer steel dagger that I've been working on for about 2 years. Yeah, I did final fit up on it, and I was just finishing up, and I noticed 3 cracks in the edge of the blade, just all down one side, and I was like, yep, I totally worked it too cold at some point in time.
It looks cool
So
though.
at my yeah, it looks, dude, the etch came out awesome. I mean, I don't think I took a picture after the overnight etch, just a little 30-minute etch, but
Just call it
the etch
Binty
came,
steel. Just call it
right.
Just call it Binty steel.
Yeah. But I mean, like, one of the cracks, I could grab the blade and the handle and I could flex it like that and watch the crack get wider. And I was like, yeah, that's not good. No, so, and then in the overnight etch, of course, the etch went down into the cracks and made them even wider. So they're even more pronounced, but I'm so far along. It's like, screw it. I'm going to finish it anyways. I mean, it's not like I'm going to stab anybody with it. It's going to hang on the wall or something like that.
Yeah.
And so literally the only thing I had left to do to it was glue up the handle, grind the handle to shape, and then sharpen the blade. That's all I had left to do. And now I'm down to just grinding the handle shape. So I glued it up last night and it's set up overnight. I got that done. Oh gosh, what else? Oh, I worked on I've got a front porch out here on my shack, and I worked on. Last year I put up 4 foot tall, inch and a half square tubing uprights because I was going to put a roof over it. I never got around to putting up a roof or even any more than the 4 uprights, and I just used bungees and put one of them mesh tarps up over the top. And I mean, it's better than nothing. Well, yesterday I finally got around to putting the. Oh, this is really distracting.
I know, right?
I've got Minecraft on my PC, and I'm looking at my front door, and there's a zombie in full gold armor and a creeper staring in my doors at me. And I'm just like, I just keep looking over, and I'm like, no, I hear you knocking, but you can't come in. But I wound up getting one of the cross braces up last night. That's all the steel that I had, because I wound up buying one stick too few to do the hole all the way around. I had enough to do one side across the front of the porch and one side on the side. Well, I got one of those up, and so that is done. and so I'm one step closer to getting a sheet iron roof on that thing.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, I accomplished. I mean, I think I accomplished quite a bit. It was definitely a adventure filled week, so to speak. So, I really screwed up, and I started watching Yellowstone. Never seen any of Yellowstone. It's always been on that back burner to do list, but since my Starlink has been out all week, and the new modem and cable doesn't come in until tomorrow, I'm just sitting here like, all right, what am I going to do? And our DVR happens to have 50 episodes of Yellowstone on it, and I was like, well, I'll give it a shot, So I watched the first episode, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm so hosed, so hosed.
Right.
I've got to watch the whole thing now. I'm like halfway through season one between last night and the night before, so yeah, I got that going on.
Yellowstone.
That's my weekend show. How about you there, Yamsy?
Yellowstone, is that about like uranium? Or, no, that's yellow cake. Never mind. Um, Bad
Yellowstone.
jokes.
It's a medical documentary about people with kidney stones.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So yeah, my my week, not quite as adventure packed, but packed nonetheless. This is what my fourth. I just finished my fourth week of working every day. Overtime has been insane. Really enjoying it. Kind of refilling the coffers. Suffice it to say, I can't even say much done. I haven't gotten anything done outside of work. I mean, at all. But yesterday I did finish rough in period for this job, and we will be able to move along to other jobs that have been backburnered and just kind of sitting, waiting for me to finish Dolphin Court, And yeah, so I am so beat and drained from this. It's just been a hard push, and it's reason it's such a hassle is a normal house, like a regular house, I can wire and get to rough in period fairly quick with my crew, with Jeannie and Jim helping me out. But Jeannie has had some surgery on her mouth, and she's been out, and Jim is part-time but also had a few days that he had to take off, so it's pretty much been a solo run on this. And in addition to that, it's not a normal house. The dude wanted everything. Like, he a normal house, we maybe put in 30 circuits, a normal, two-story house, 30 circuits or so, maybe less. The dude's got like 60 circuits. It's a 40. We had a 40 space 200 amp panel, and we needed to put an additional 100 amp panel on it, on top of circuits coming off of the disconnect. It was just a pain in the butt to run, And it's not a big house. The dude just wants a lot of circuits. But, if he's paying for it, we'll do it. And so,
Fair enough.
yeah, that's kind of been my month. And I know that from last week, last Sunday evening show, I ran out of oxyacetylene. I have got to find some time to get up to Dixie's and replace them bottles, and get some oxyacetylene. With that, so me and Alexis discussed my quad state project, and I might be doing a shift on it. I don't think I will have enough time to finish the crack-in project by September. I just too overbooked at work, too overbooked in my personal life. I got like 7 weeks before my brother and sister-in-law moved down here, and with all that, I don't have time. I'm going to be working pretty much 7 days a week until September. So I will likely try and do a smaller uh, uh, sculpture, smaller, simpler project to put in if I do anything for Quad State at all. Um, so, John Burnell, sorry. I know you really, really wanted to see me finish it, but it seems to me like you're one of the only ones. So, well, that's the thing, John. John Burnell says in the chat, it's like you can just keep working on it on the Sunday streams. That's the thing. My next step is for the octopus itself is bending the arms, and I'm not gonna have. It's like I probably won't get a chance to get any more oxyacetylene, you know, till late July. And just before Quad State, and so I can't really do that. You know, it just would sit there too long. Um, and anyway, so that's kind of my week and where I'm at with everything. Uh, and yeah, so today is the first Impractical Blacksmiths episodes of June, and we had chosen June to kind of the topic of focus, or the era or civilization or whatever of focus, to be China, because apparently there's some Chinese holiday this month, like the Dragon Festival or something Chinesey. And so we're kind of gonna look into historical blacksmithing and of ancient China. And I will say this, just a quick teaser. Found out something pretty amazingly interesting about. Should I give a quick tease on it early?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, just a quick tease. In our research, we found something very interesting about Wootz steel, Damascus steel, when researching China. And you'll get a little bit more information in this show on it, and to the point where we're probably going to do an entire show just on that, and it's pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to that. But all right, so I pulled up some stuff, and let me get some where we at? Yeah. I've got some stuff to read from some articles that I pulled up, and this and that and everything else, and I'll go into it. Metallurgy in China has a long history, with the earliest metal objects in China dating back to around 3000 BCE. The majority of early metal items found in China come from the northwestern region, Gansu and Qinghai. I'm going to be honest, going to butcher pronunciations. I'm going to butcher pronunciations. China was the earliest civilization to use the blast furnace and produced cast iron. They are the first ones to put iron ore in, melt it down, and pour it into molds. It's very interesting with that too. Archaeological evidence indicates that the earliest metal objects in China were made in the late 4th millennium BCE. Copper was generally the earliest metal to be used by humanity and was used in China since at least 3000 BCE. Early metal communities have been found at Qija, Siba, and Gansu, with similar sites in Xinjiang and in the west, and Shandong and Liaoning, and Inner Mongolia in the east and north. The Central Plain sites associated with the Caratoke culture also contain early metalworks. Copper manufacturing, more complex than jade working, gradually appeared in the Yangshuo period, 5000 to 3000 BCE. Ginseng is the only place where copper artifacts were found in the Banpo culture. Archaeologists found remains of copper metallurgy in various cultures from the late 4th to the early 3rd millennia BCE. These include copper smelting remains and copper artifacts from the Hongshan culture and copper slag at Yangwashan Zing. I told you I'm going to butcher these. This indicates the inhabitants of the Yellow River had already learned how to make copper artifacts by later periods. The Kuija culture, which is 2500 to 1900 BCE, and Western Shaanxi produced copper and bronze utilitarian items, gold, copper, and bronze ornaments. The earliest metalwork in this region found at Maijiao site at Lingjia. These names, I can't. Places and things, Gansu. Their date ranges from 29 to 1600 BCE. These metal objects represent the Maya type of the Maya culture. Chinese words. Like literally the Chinese characters. It's like, yeah, I can't table, chair, desktop, lamp. Anyway, so yeah, they started just much like, yeah, and Alexis and I were discussing this early on, or in the pre-show, was that like, aside from the cast iron, and we are going to push kind of past, just do a brief rundown of the bronze and brass, because, or bronze and copper, because like most of those early civilizations were almost carbon copies of each other of what they used with their bronze and their brass, or bronze and their copper, using casting.
Oh, I'm going to expand on that a little bit. Hey, we were talking beforehand in pre-show, and I started out this morning doing a little bit of research that, read this paper, read that paper, and I was just kind of really disappointed. I was like, I thought to myself, I was like, man, I really don't want to do this again, because
Right.
it's like every civilization that we go through, it's like, they start out with the Copper Age and the Bronze Age, and while a lot of these civilizations were independent of each other, and they came up with these methods of working metal at the same, give or take the same time,
Yeah.
but it's not like this person found copper and went and told these people, oh, hey, you should try this. I mean, like literally, it just spontaneously happened in all these places within about a 500-year span, give or take. But it's basically with as far as the Bronze Age, and the Copper Age, in between stone and iron, it's pretty much the same historical timeline with
Right.
just small minor differences, and it's kind of tedious to keep just going over. Well, they started working bronze in 3000 BCE, and
Yeah. And unless
I
you're
just wanted to make a note of one thing that I found to be kind of fascinatingly similar between Egypt and China. Was there was a couple artifacts found. One of them was a dagger cast out of bronze with a meteoric iron tip on it, and another one was a battle axe cast out of bronze with a meteoric iron blade. So the a little bit more than that. It's not just the tip, but it's not just the tip. It's a big portion of the head, I guess, and then they cast bronze around it for the to handle it and all that. So
yeah.
and those were like about 3000 BC. So 5,000 years ago, about the same time as Egypt. They knew about iron, and but they didn't know how to. Iron came from the sky, meteorites, and what do we do with it? And hammer it into shape, I guess.
Yeah.
So that was a similarity that I found fascinating. That it wasn't just it wasn't an isolated
Now,
phenomenon as far as using meteoric iron in prehistoric
now,
times.
and which was what I was about to get into, because I was skipping past. I was just giving kind of a brief rundown of the time periods that they were working with their metals, and that's why I brought up, like, we had discussed. You know what? We already talked bronze and copper to death with Egypt and even Rome. So we're going to jump ahead in time, because ancient Egypt or ancient China was the first civilization to work with iron, to do cast iron. So moving ahead a bit, not much because they still were the first, we'll go into iron. In 2008, two iron fragments were excavated at the Mogu site in Gansu. They had been dated to the 14th century BCE, belonging to the period of Siwa culture. One of the fragments were made of bloomery iron rather than meteoric iron. Cast iron artifacts are found in China before 5th century BCE and as early as the Zhou dynasty in 6th century BCE. An Iron Age culture of the Tibetan Plateau has tentatively been associated with the Zhangzong culture described in early Tibetan writings. So around, 700 BC, that's 700 or 7th, 6th, 7th, and 5th, all those centuries. That's 600, 700 BC, BC, but is when they were doing their casting. And I don't believe we've done a full history of early cast iron in, Western culture at all. So I don't have a frame of reference for how much earlier they were. But around 500 BCE, metalworkers in the southern state of Wu achieved a temperature of up to 1,130 degrees Celsius, hot enough to use the hearth as a blast furnace. As Alexis had said, one of the first cultures to use a blast furnace. At this temperature, iron combines with 4.3% carbon and melts. As a liquid, iron can be cast into molds, a method far less laborious, as we all know, than individually forging each piece of iron from a bloom. If iron ores are heated with carbon to 14 to 17 or 1420 to 1470 K, a molten liquid is formed, and an alloy of about 96.5 iron and 3.5 carbon. This product is strong and can cast into intricate shapes, but as we know, is way too brittle to be worked. How many of you guys have picked up something and said, I can forge this? It's cast iron, heat it up, hit it, and just... We all know.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
If iron, that temperature seems really low, because that's like half of forging temperature. Well, not half
Celsius.
Of temperature, but
Celsius.
you know what I mean. Half of the temperature that my forge will get. Could I theoretically melt? Well, I know I can melt iron in my forge because I've done it. But I mean, I've melted steel in my forge. But I had never thought about throwing little chunks of cast iron in there and melting them down. I don't even know if that's possible. Or does it melt in its raw form and then mix with the carbon to become the cast iron?
I'm sure they're throwing ore in there. Yeah. There's, I doubt they're throwing chunks of, iron like we would, chunks of pure iron in there.
Right. Yeah, and iron ore is basically just big clumps of ferric oxide. So.
Right.
All right. That was just kind of. I was just kind of like, but yeah, never mind.
No, it's fine.
I got distracted by melting iron.
Yeah. Well, what the Wu achieved is a sort of a malleable cast iron by decarburizing the cast iron. They did came up with a process for decarburization for the cast iron, making malleable cast iron. I think what we call ductile iron now, right? The vast majority of Chinese iron manufacture from the late Zhou dynasty onward was of cast iron. However, forged swords began to be made in the Warring States period, which I could not tell you. That's another difficult thing. Side note of researching Chinese ancient history is unlike Egypt, where they say what the dates are, and then what kingdom they're associated with. It assumes like, oh, the Wu dynasty, the Warring States period, and it's like, okay. Earliest iron and steel also appear to be made by the earliest and most
A
basic
lot of the
forging and folding
information out there
techniques.
assumes you have an extensive knowledge of Chinese history,
It's
so it is a bit difficult to what a bit difficult to wade through at times.
right,
The whole time I'm like, well, when was that? You know, I
right,
mean, like it would
and,
help if there.
and you've got a deep dive to find it. You know, um, but around 300 BCE, iron became the preferred metal for tools and weapons in China. And then we go into the Middle Ages, gold and silver, and cultural significance. And I actually pulled up other articles that I'll go into now, which kind of go into what I was talking about earlier with Woots. Not going into the
Whoop.
not going into the deep dive just yet. That will be consider this kind of how they came up to that, and then we'll focus on it. A bit of a teaser discussion after at the end of this little blurb, and then next week's episode will primarily be on Woots. So get your buzzers ready to correct us and go, no, Woots was only in Syria, blah blah blah. All right. Oh, and it
They only
is
made Woots in Damascus.
right. Oh no, I just reset things. Hold on. Here we go. All right. Ancient Chinese ironwork holds a significant place in history in the history of metallurgy and craftsmanship in China. Ironworking in China dates back to around 2000 BCE during the Bronze Age, but became more widespread and sophisticated during subsequent periods. Development of ironworking. The knowledge of ironworking in China began with the discovery and utilization of meteoric iron. Over time, techniques for extracting iron from iron ore and refining it were developed. Ancient Chinese ironwork went through various stages of advancements, from initial use of meteoric iron to the production of cast iron, then wrought iron and steel. Wootz steel. The Chinese were early pioneers in the production of high quality steel known as Wootz steel. At that time, it was called Binti steel. The steel had a unique composition and distinctive pattern, making it highly prized. Wootz steel was exported to various parts of Asia and the Middle East and played a significant role in the development of steel making techniques worldwide for the time. Iron and warfare. The advancements in ironworking technology had a profound impact on ancient Chinese warfare. Iron weapons such as swords, spears, arrowheads created or replaced the less durable bronze weapons. The production of iron armor, including helmets, cuirasses, shields, provided better protection for soldiers. Iron tools revolutionized agriculture in ancient China. Farmers began using iron plows, hoes, and sickles, which were more efficient and durable compared to their bronze counterparts. This led to increased productivity and played a crucial role in supporting the growing population. Ancient Chinese ironworkers created a wide range of artifacts beyond weapons and tools. These included ornamental objects, household items, musical instruments, and religious artifacts. Intricately designed iron sculptures, bells, and decorative items showcase the skill and creativity of ancient China and its iron work. Techniques. Ancient China employed various techniques such as smelting, casting, forging, and tempering. These techniques allowed the artisans to shape iron into desired forms while improving its strength, hardness, and flexibility. Craftsmen used different types of furnaces, bellows, with specialized tools for the processes. Let's see. Moving into early, mhm.
Let me interject just a minute here. The way I read some of this stuff, it goes back to like the Bronze Age or whatever stuff when they first started casting, what do you call it, bronze weapons and whatnot. You know, they went from working with wood and stone, and being mildly aggressive towards their neighboring what do you call it, peoples, whatever,
Provinces.
Yeah, as soon as they figured out how to cast bronze, they're like, man, I could kill him. I mean, and then I mean, and immediately after figuring out the whole casting of bronze thing, or copper alloys, they immediately, I mean, the entire every city state it was all about war. It was all about
Ah,
conquering the next place. Yeah, I mean, it's like metal. The invention or discovery of the ability to work metal resulted in just centuries of continuous warfare. And it's just like, that's the first thing they thought of when they figured it out. They're like, whoa,
this will hurt somebody.
check it out.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah, I found that fascinating. And it was actually much later that the tools made it into agricultural use, because the metal was it was still fairly scarce, and so what little there was used for weaponry. And when that weaponry wore down or broke, it was subsequently melted down and recast.
yeah. And with that, talking about and the warring periods, the warring states period was up 475 to 221 BCE. There we go. We have a time frame. Yay! We all love time frames. And one thing that I had found in my researching was that with that early cast iron, when they were, I believe it was the Zhang province. I'm not quite whatever. This one province, which was the seat of the emperor of China, of all these other provinces and everything, had discovered, or they were the ones that started using cast iron and casting arrowheads in mass production of cast iron weaponry and tooling. And at that time, it was just kind of like, okay, go forth and innovate. And the Wu, another province, had basically took that and just run with it. Took the whole concept of cast iron and they played with it. And very likely where we get that Binti steel, that Wootz steel, from. And they're the ones that created a malleable cast iron that is not as hard and brittle, but softer and still be able to be mass produced. And that superior technology of working the iron allowed them to basically take over the seat of the emperor. And once they did, they banned and punishable by death any working of iron, any creating of iron tools, anything like that, unless you had direct permission from the government of the time. It basically government controlled, centralized metalworking. You know, in order to prevent any other uprisings, they figured, oh, we did it. Why can't somebody else? To protect our seat. If we catch you doing it, we're gonna kill you. And basically had a grip on that industry for the longest time. And I don't quote me on this because I'm not an expert in history. That's Adam. But I think that may be the start of the warring periods. I don't know. The warring states. But yeah, so
You know,
it's hmm?
and I find it in. Go ahead. Go ahead and
No, no,
finish your
no.
thought.
My thought was finished. Empty head, no thoughts.
I was going to say, I find it fascinating that the Chinese very quickly discovered and understood that casting of metal to make your weaponry was far superior to forging it. Simply in just the time, the ability to mass produce pieces that have the same weight, that have the same balance. I mean, if let's say you're out there, swinging a hand sword, you break it, and somebody hands you another one. It's got the same balance. You don't have to relearn it. You don't have to figure out where it is. It's basically it's the same sword that you just broke. And then arrowheads. I mean, if you're forging arrowheads or even knapping them out of stone, every single one is going to fly different depending on its aerodynamics, depending on its weight, depending on its center of gravity. When you're casting the arrowheads in a mold, and over and over and over again, every single one of them has the same weight, the same shape. They fly exactly the same. Your accuracy is on point. And they just very quickly figured out that it is much faster. It's much more efficient in the long run to just cast this stuff than it is to heat it up and beat it out. And you cast it as close as you can, and then you just grind an edge on it, and you're good to go. And to a certain extent, that worked very well, but it did not lead for durable, shall we say, blades. Other than in the ductile stuff, probably was a little bit better, but um, yeah. I mean, it's just they discovered metal, and then they're just like, wait a minute, I got an idea, and let's pour it in this hole and see what happens.
Right. Isn't that just kind of how humanity got started? Never mind. Very basic. That's what she said. Never mind. Okay.
But why would I say that?
Huh?
I don't know. But why would I say that?
I don't know. But yeah,
that's an old Big Brother. That's an old Big Brother joke from like season 2 or season 3 or something like that.
Never even seen a single episode of that show.
Yeah, there's a couple guys on there that are always saying that's what she said, and there's this one girl in there that was just completely confused and had no idea what that meant or anything. And almost every time they say it, the camera would cut to her looking at somebody else and going, why would she say that? That doesn't make any sense. Why would she say that? And she was always saying, why would she say that? After one of the guys would be like, oh, yeah, that's what she said. Yeah. Anyways, and that I guess I'm probably the only person that gets that, because when I say, why would she say that? Everybody's like, huh?
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, Michael Scott owns That's What She Said. Hands down. So yeah, the Chinesium isotopes. So what are the Chinesium isotopes? List them off there. There are 4 of them.
Yeah, sure. I don't know. I'm not that fast, man. I needed some prior preparation. The only thing I was going to come up with was Taiwanesium.
So yeah, interesting takeaways for this are that the Chinese were the first to use cast iron, and as we all know, they still use it today. I think that their ancient products were a bit more pure and more quality than their current products, though. I will just say that.
Yeah, well, but to be fair, their ancient cast iron wasn't melted down cars, containing a little bit of everything, including the seats.
Right. True. Yeah. What why does this cheap Chinese anvil have a freaking BMW logo in it? Oh man. I digress, though. This is going to be a very difficult era to discuss because China. But yeah, I'm just trying to keep half an eye on the chat. Y'all are going nuts. Let me see. So hello to everybody who popped in, while I was going on my rant read thing. But with all of that said, we will, as we said early on, we will not so much focus on the bronze and copper era of the metallurgical development of ancient China, because it's been done to death. It's just, as we said when we're researching it, it's the almost identical to Egypt, and we just finished Egypt, so we will be focusing on the fact that they were pretty much the first civilization to create the blast furnace, to create and use the blast furnace to create to manufacture cast iron in a very real sense of mass production, and how that helped shape their culture. And with that, you can't talk about cast iron and blast furnaces and such without going into Wootz steel and some of the stuff, just to tease again, some of the stuff that we've discovered on it kind of blow our preconceived notions about how, Syria and the city of Damascus and where all of that Wootz information came from. And if you'd like to do a little bit of light reading on it, there's some information, look up Binti Steel, Binti Steel, Bintie, Binti Steel. There's not much, but, as we're finding out, and we will, I literally just found this stuff out, researched this morning. It is extremely possible, and again, we will go into it further. It is extremely possible that the first pieces of Wootz steel, what we call Damascus steel, came out of China and was traded into the Middle East and Syria and such, and then either they recreated it, like they reverse engineered it, or they were given the secret, and that China, not Syria, was the first to create it. So we'll have a bit of I find that much more interesting than just the early metalworking of China, because it's something a little bit closer to the heart for blacksmiths, and I think y'all are tired of non-ferrous metals. I think y'all are a bit exhausted from non-ferrous, from copper and bronze and tin and etc. etc. So I'm pleased to find out.
We feel you. We are too.
Yeah. We absolutely are. I mean, we love doing this. We love dipping into the history of how humanity went from, grabbing a rock and bashing somebody's skull open with it, all the way to us, picking up blacksmithing as a hobby and then doing podcasts about it. Like it constantly comes up in questions in the comments, like, what does this have to do with blacksmithing? Everything has to do with blacksmithing, so.
See, Yamez's ancestor picked up a rock and hit somebody in the head with it. And my ancestor figured out that if he tied the rock to a stick, he could hit him in the head from further away.
Yeah, exactly. So it's the progression of how.
Come on, my jokes are strong.
Strong as cast iron in the early periods of Chinese history.
Oh, hey, I don't know if you noticed. You ever wonder why they call your the cartilage or whatever on the end of your fingers fingernails? I mean, you ever wonder why is that called a nail?
Now I'm curious. I feel a punchline or
because you hit them with a hammer.
Oh, let me see.
Tish.
Yeah, had to be done. Okay, I couldn't pick one, so I hit them both.
They were both appropriate.
So yeah, just kind of a surprise in our research this morning, and looking forward to that. I just wanted to take today to give you guys kind of a brief rundown of how ancient China got to cast iron, and then that will be kind of the focus when we're discussing ancient China this month. So yeah, new information. So a new episode of Woot Steel coming out. Yay! Even though we already did it, not the same new information. So, I will say though, I do have a busy day ahead of me. I've got code classes again and beta testing, and then I've got to come up with something for this evening's show. So, I really don't want to. It is way too early to do final thoughts. What am I doing?
Yeah.
Well, I just pretty much, without going into the next phase of it, that's pretty much all I have to say on the subject today.
Okay, well, let's hit the chat, and I don't have access to YouTube at the moment because of my
all
limited.
Right. Let me scroll back.
So let's hit the chat and interact, and bounce something off me.
Yeah. All right. Trying to roll back through the chat. They were commenting on letting the lay astrobiologist play the part of historian today. It's like, yep, they let me play historian. And Trail Dust says if I had an Aussie accent, they wouldn't notice the mispronunciations. That's too true. Hey, Thomas.
Right?
This is why we need Adam. You need to just hire him full time. Let me see. Yep, I do well at public speaking. It's not my fault. The public doesn't like it. Hubcap Forge comes in and he wants to know my sources of what I'm reading it from. That was a combination of Wikipedia, a PDF that I found, and of course ChatGTP.
What?
No. Always. When did Bloomery work start in China? I think I said that. It was when I believe I said that. That was 14th century.
14th century BC.
Yeah, 14th century BCE. So what's that? 1400 or 1500 was. How does the century thing work? Because I know we're in the 20.
The 14th century is 1400 BC.
Okay, so it is even. Because I know 19th century, AD is year 2000 or something like that, isn't it? Or no, 1800s.
Okay. There is that whole thing.
Around 14th century BCE. We'll just say that. You all can do the math. Let me see. Jack Pine says the chief success features of humanity are opposable digits, incredible pattern recognition, and very complex vocalization. With those three things, accidents become patterns, become communicated. Not communicated knowledge. Huh. Interesting take. Trying to silt through all the random chatter, and here's one. Ben, I have a dozen squirrels or so. They eat peanuts from my hand. What the heck are you guys talking about? Oh, the chat. Let me see. Y'all are where we at? 14th. Okay, there we go. Granddad says 14th century is the 1300s.
There you go. That I knew there was a. Thank you. I knew there was a directionality of difference.
Yeah, which brings up my question of the
20th century was the 1900s.
Yes, which brings up my question. That's for AD. What about for BC? Is it reversed? because you're going down.
The first century is the zero, not, 0 to 99, right? 100 to
Yeah, I'm trying to math that
200.
out.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I don't know. I'd have to have like a graph. I don't know.
Okay, now here we go. And we knew if I brought this up, this would be uh, a topic that came up in the chat. Watch Michael Lode's film about Woots. The Chinese weren't the first. The original technique comes from somewhere in India, and that is actually what I'm contesting here, Mr. Pekka. Is the evidence found is that it may have begun in ancient China and was brought to Syria in India, and that's now for the record and to be fair, uh, this is just it's I literally just found this information and have not gone into a deep dive. I have an entire PDF 20-page essay written on the
We
subject of Binti Woots steel.
Yeah, we have one source so far, and we're going to expound upon that because unless you have two sources, you can't really consider it to be a fact. So,
I mean, even the Wikipedia article of Woots steel brings up China. So
and I haven't read it yet, and so it's also, is it an opinion piece or is it an evidentiary back? And like I said, I haven't read it yet. I know you sent it to me, but I'll get
yeah,
to that later on this evening. But
yeah. So to be perfectly clear, the information on Binti Woots steel out of ancient China is something we had just found out. We as a show had just found out about, T minus 30 minutes to press go,
yeah,
for recording this.
an hour and 15 minutes ago.
Yeah. So
And it's and it I think just by the reading that Yamez is doing while I was getting ready, I wanted. I could be wrong, but I want to say it was something like a several hundred years difference between the Bindi steel being produced and the first instances of Woots showing up in India.
yeah, and
But
as
we will hammer that out, no pun intended, and
yeah,
figure it out if it is actually um, corroborated position.
and
So
I
to speak.
will say this: it is called Binti steel, not Woots steel. Um,
But it,
and it
but
is
it is
made through
very similar.
it is made through a crucible process, and what I am positing and what people are bringing up in the articles that I've read about it in this PDF file that I've found is not that they invented Wootz steel, but an early form of Wootz steel, which was then traded and brought around as a superior product to cast iron, which was then picked up and possibly from there reverse engineered and made better as technology and advances and progresses. So we're not saying that ipso facto Wootz steel as we as blacksmiths know of it today was created by ancient China, full stop, but began in ancient China is what we're saying. Okay. Not and again, I'd like to reiterate that we are not professional historians, just like we are not professional blacksmiths. We find information, we read it, and we relay it to you guys. And the purpose of this isn't to teach you necessarily, as to share with you some information that we have found, and then if you choose to go into a deeper dive or it inspires you to try something new or to learn something new, that is our purpose, is inspiration in knowledge, or is it knowledge and inspiration? Something of those two words. So
Yeah.
I'm not trying to start any. Actually, no, I am. I am starting arguments because arguments breed uh, um,
Understanding. Well, yeah.
understanding and and
Or
and
hate or
and
hatred, depends on how you look at it.
and digging in. Like No, this, what if Mr. Pekka, for example, you're bringing these points to me. Um, what if we find something in our research, and if you join us within this research as well, you find something that oh no, that is right, and here's the defining, or the defining split of Binti, then Woots, then everything, blah blah blah. So yeah, it's broadening people's understanding of the world behind us, you know. So that, keep that in mind when we go over it, you know. And I'm glad you brought that up, Mr. Pekka. I was hoping somebody would, you know.
Yeah, we weren't baiting for nothing.
Yeah, we weren't baiting for nothing.
Go away, baiting.
I'm gonna watch that movie today. Go away, baiting. So with that, I believe it's time for us to move into our final thoughts.
All right.
All right. So I guess I kind of covered mine and my final thoughts with that little last rant. If you got anything to say.
Yeah, sure. I'm really surprised how much I got done this week. It's like, I don't know, 2 months worth of project work all done in 3 days, and all it took was just a little bit of motivation and a little bit of boredom, and sitting around going, man, I really don't want to watch another episode of whatever it is. Or, well, in this case, the internet's been out since Wednesday, so I really didn't have a whole lot of choices. It's just like I could sit here and play Minecraft on my phone, or I can go out and do something. And I chose to go out and do something. And God, it's honestly so much more rewarding to be out there. Granted, I'm sweating my butt off, and other things as well. And it's just, but at the end of the day, I can look at something and go, man, I got that project done. Finally. I mean, like, I've been working on that for 2 years, and it had an hour and a half left in it, and it's been sitting on the shelf because I didn't want to mess with that last hour and a half or whatever. And I got a lot of projects knocked out this week, and so it's. I'd like each of you to challenge yourself to take pick a project that you haven't finished or haven't started, if you have something in mind that you haven't started yet, and try to get a little progress on it. Try to finish a project that you haven't quite finished. Make a little progress on something you haven't started. Just do something physical. Get some exercise. Whether that's swinging a hammer or digging a hole, or as long as you're not digging a grave.
Wiring a house.
Yeah. Wiring a house, throwing your back out trying to pull wire, whatever floats your boat, or sinks it even. So get out there, do something, make some progress, and hopefully you'll be able to hold something and say, finally got that done. So I will see y'all next week for this discussion on Bindi steel and how it applies to Woots, and I'll see y'all next week.
All right. Yep. As usual, I want to thank everybody who's puts up with us. Thank you all to the subscribers, the channel members, my moderators, my co-hosts, and we have a word from Adam here popped in, and so we're going to give 50 seconds of silence.
Just say thank you very much for listening, guys. You can find Yames on Island Metal Forge on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. You can find Alex at Transcendental Artist Studios on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. And you can find me, Adam, at Speargrass Forge on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. If you have any suggestions for Tool of the Week, Metal of the Week, or any other topic, you can leave them under the hashtag Metal of the Week in the YouTube community chat in Discord, or you can email us at impracticalblacksmiths@gmail.com. If you found us on Anchor, Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, or Google Podcasts, we upload generally every Wednesday, or you can join us live every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's currently 12:30 a.m. Australian Central Standard Time on Monday morning. However, you should check that against your local time, and that's located at the Island Metal Forge YouTube channel. Finally, thanks for joining us, and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, or give us a star rating if you found us on one of the podcasts, and we appreciate your support. Now,
Thank you. Much appreciated, Adam. Always glad to have you here, even if you are just stock footage.
Right? Thanks, Adam.
So, tune in later tonight for my evening show. I will be doing something, even if it's wrong. Y'all have a wonderful day.
And it will probably be wrong. So
yes,
I'll be there to point that out.
yes. So catch y'all later.